Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today is somewhat of a different video. I do see it's a little dark. Let me just turn on the lights. That is a little bit brighter. Something is not right in terms of, just goals, where I see myself financially, in terms of, where I'm at currently, where I want to be, how I can improve. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, as a kid, you get told to, dream big, have these goals, and life decided to just throw you a new one or change that path. And at times, I feel a little bit lost and a little bit just not really sure where to go about. Either it is the new year or in a couple of months, in a couple of years. I want to change a few things about my life, change maybe where I live. I want to change um, money. I also want to change my goals. And I want to change my perspective. I'm going to call that POV. So, change in terms of money, I'm thinking more so to have a emergency savings account. And then I also want to have a buffer for that emergency. I think one of the things that I learned very quickly when it came to cash stuffing is that it doesn't matter how much money you have in emergency, somehow, sometimes, it always feels like you don't save enough. And I'm at a point where I'm kind of saying, like, how much is enough to save for your emergency funds? Because some people say it's 3 to 5 months of expenses, and although that's great and it has worked for me, I think sometimes, especially with inflation changing, where actually I had a colleague bring this up, where for the past couple of years she was paying rent maybe like less than $2,000 a month, and she lives by herself and everything. And over the years, rent had significantly increased, you know, maybe a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there. And then next thing you know, they already sent her the invoice or the statement for next year saying that she will be paying like $2,000. Now, with this increase of $2,000, she's now short from her in her emergency funds, because even like the high yield savings accounts, yes, they do give you a few dollars here and there, but sometimes, especially when you're just starting, it's just a couple of cents. So I need to change the way I view this. And maybe, I'm not sure, I do see how my emergency category or binder is accumulating, and I have different categories for different things, but it is something that I do want to focus on a lot, because with my emergency, oops, sorry, in my emergency binder right now, I have the emergency at 5%, which is supposed to technically be my buffer for these kind of things. Then I have, my best friends, which unfortunately I haven't even been able to stuff this because I just don't have the means to. Then the car, which was an expense that my mom used to take care of, but with my goal of, trying to be more independent, um, it's something that I want to focus on and, attribute to that. Um, Family is something that, I do have family that doesn't currently live with me in Canada at this time. So it is something that, even if it's as short as $5, um, it would help, and it will do something instead of just not having anything. Friends, my emergency funds, and then we have obviously my cats. So definitely want to change the way I go about money. If you guys have any tips and tricks that have worked for you guys along the way, please, 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 um, let me know, or share them below. I'm always open to new ideas, new ways of finding tips and tricks here and there to save better, so it helps me in the long run. When it comes to where I've lived now, I've been in Canada for 16 years since I've immigrated from Haiti. And this is something that I've always envisioned. However, it's still something that's pending at this time, because I do love my job and I do love what I like to do. However, I don't necessarily mean that um, to change where I live has to be outside of the country. Sometimes it could be just a new apartment. Currently, I am living with my parents, and although that has its perks, I don't know if you guys are firstborn what am I saying? Immigrant children. Sometimes that can be a little bit tough. And sometimes you feel like the people that are supposed to kind of spread your wings and help you spread those wings, or the one that are tying your feet so you don't actually get the opportunity to fly. I do feel like that sometimes where I live. And it's also very hard too, because even my mom and I had that conversation. She grew up in Haiti and she lived there, she went to school there. So by the time she came, or we immigrated to Canada, she had only known what it's like to live in Canada from that point on. And sometimes when I was in school, I remember it was very hard to resonate with my mom, because the way they gave out homework was different than it was in Haiti. The way they went about lessons was different than what it do in Haiti. So my parents had a very hard time kind of helping me with schoolwork and how the school system worked, which is kind of like understandable, being in a new country and not knowing what goes on. But because I was not raised in Haiti, and only had my childhood there, my parents raising me like I was still in Haiti kind of affected my perspective and the way I view, um, uh, I guess, life and school, and the expectations and stuff. And though it hadn't always been a bad thing, I'm just ready. I'm ready to change the environment, even if it's a new apartment, a couple blocks down the street. I want to start being able to spread my wings. And I did live by myself for a short period of time while I was in university, but now that's no longer the case. I'm no longer a student, and rent is just, it's killing. It's actually killing, slapping even. That's not really a, how do I say this? It's not really an option at this time. So it's not something that I can do at this time. But, this can be anything from, moving houses, you know, maybe changing environment. So environment change. Okay. Yeah. And then my perspective, um, yeah, environment change. Sorry, I have to go back into this. Environment change. And and then for goals, I mean, 20, I know guys. I'm I'm not gonna lie to you, turning 25 is kind of freaking me out. And the only reason why it's freaking me out is because I feel like, I don't know if the pandemic did that to you guys as well. I feel like the pandemic put everything on hold except for your age and the bills, of course, because everything stopped during the pandemic. Everything stopped during the pandemic. The only thing that didn't stop was debt, bills, and ourselves. Like, we had a birthday every year. And I felt like mentally, I feel like I still I still tend to subtract the the 3 years or 2 years that was taken away from me from the pandemic. So even like a couple years ago on my birthday cake, it was like 2 years younger than what I was actually turning, because it was just like, it's not fair. The pandemic took it away from me. I couldn't do anything. But the fact that I'm hitting 25 this year, and there's so much that I wanted to accomplish. And the thing is, it's just like, it's not even expectations that was put on me. I feel like it's expectations that I put on myself, which is, the perspective that I want to change is to, stop adding, um, stop adding more weight to myself. It's, just accepting and, sticking and believing yourself, and, you know, um, oops, sorry, believe in yourself. Yeah, just believe in yourself, and just, you know, take risks, which is something that I've always been scared to do. And I know it's going to be a bittersweet feeling when I do turn 25, but I feel like I will overcome what I needed to overcome and just take it from there. I don't know if you guys have these moments where you're just kind of brainstorming, like, what's working, what's not working, things you need to change, um, things that maybe advice that you got from other people that share and stuff. And yeah, let me know. Let me know some advice to anybody who is 25, who's turning 25. Are you looking forward to it? How has it been? Things that maybe I should know. Very, very, open to comments and advice. More importantly, advice. Especially like, I'm always curious, and I ask my colleagues these all the time. They're a lot older than me, and I was like, when you guys were 25, how was it? Was it, good, bad? Things I look forward to. But then again, it's like the same thing. It's like, when they were 25, things were different. Life was different. I mean, it's crazy. I was born in 2000, and I can't even relate to people that are born in 2002. It's like mind blowing to me. And it's kind of scary, because I do want to have a family, and I do want to, raise my kids, but I know that I will never understand what my kids are going through, because I will not have lived in the time that they're living and they're being kids. And, sometimes I look at my colleagues like, yeah, I can do that. Or that was a very good advice. Like, I mean, one of the advice that one of my colleagues, um, um, said to me, she was like, Emeline, when you come into a new environment, you shouldn't expect the environment to change to you, but you change the environment. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I tackled my finances. It's like, I didn't, I was like, every time I would receive a paycheck, the paycheck was gone, because I was expecting like my paycheck to magically appear with like, a $5,000 paycheck, because I was expecting it to adapt to my way of living. But then when I started adapting myself to my paycheck and actually attributing, the different dollars, or like each dollar to a different envelope, then I was like, okay, like this can work in my favor, but I just have to work and make it happen. So that was something that I had to learn. So that was very good advice. And how I was able to tackle my finances. And then, I also had, I don't remember who, but I had someone saying, it's like, your each dollar is like a coworker. Therefore, in a company and in a business, everybody has a role, everybody has something to do. Therefore, every cent, every dollar, every hundreds of dollars should have a job within the company, and that company is your network or some kind of thing. And make it work for you. So that was another advice that I got. I know this video was kind of like out of, out of the blue. I haven't really seen anybody do any of those, and I'm somebody who's like, I like to think about things, and I have some like random thoughts here and there. So I feel like, I don't know if anybody's even gonna watch this, but I I wanted to just kind of blurt out, speak my mind, and just kind of figure out what the next couple of months and even next year is going to look like for me. Because what hit me is that 2026 is literally here in 4 months. That is crazy. crazy to me because next month is September. That's the fall. Poof, we have November. Then it's Christmas, and then Happy New Year, everybody. I guess it is what it is. But thank you for those who's here with me and stayed to listen to me ramble. I don't know if this is going to be a long video or not. I hope not. But yeah, that's what's been on my mind recently about, my finances and where it's going to take me in terms of where I live. And then is it aligning with my goals? And then should I change my perspective on it? And then from there, is there anything that I should be doing, should not be doing in terms of my finances? With that, thank you for, being part of this journey. Thank you for being here. And I will go now. Have a good day, have a good week, and see you next time. Bye, everybody.